welcome to 30 Minutes. I'm Rick Anthony. Every so often, I come across a story that rekindles my faith in the future of our country's youth, often maligned as slothful and without purpose. Granted, there may be a percentage of Generation Z to whom those words might apply, but the middle and high school students enrolled in the chapters across the country of the Entrepreneurs Network Academy are a striking exception to the stereotypical Generation Z cohort. Ellen Fisher is Executive Director of the area chapter of Young Entrepreneurs Academy and is located on the campus of Eastern University. It's a great story, and MLTV 21 and I are happy to bring it to you. Welcome, Ellen.
Thank you.
It is truly a pleasure to have you here. As a retired entrepreneur, angel investor, and all that stuff, I can appreciate the exhilaration you must have when you have youngsters, particularly, who go from an idea, concept to prototype, and then through all the steps to get to finally launch. It must be a wonderful experience.
It's a great experience. I started my entrepreneurial journey in middle school, probably selling Girl Scout cookies. I sold the most Girl Scout cookies of anyone in Delaware County the year that I was a very involved Girl Scout. And I started my business, the Women's Yellow Pages, when I was 25. And at that point, I was always the youngest person in the room. Now I'm finding I'm on the other end of that spectrum. But, it's really different when you're dealing with middle school and high school students because the barrier to entry is much lower than when I started. They don't need business phones. They don't need locations. In fact, now they don't even seem to need websites to start their businesses. Right. So it's really fun to see what they come up with.
Where did the idea for the Young Entrepreneurs Academy come from?
It was started in Rochester, New York, at the University of Rochester. The founder was a teacher and had the same idea that it was time for younger students to be exposed to entrepreneurship. And she developed a curriculum and then started rolling it out around the country. And actually around the world. There are chapters in India and in China. Yes.
Well, how long? How long has it been around?
They've been there for about 4 years. Yeah.
Now, how long is the academy?
The program is 15 years old.
Okay, still relatively young. Yeah. Is it the only program of its kind in the country?
There are other entrepreneur programs. In our area, we're the only, in fact, we were the first ones to come to Pennsylvania with the Young Entrepreneurs Academy. There are 2 other programs out, one in the middle of the state and one in the western part of the state now. But there aren't very many entrepreneurial programs. There were some in the Philadelphia area started by chambers and local business associations, but a lot of them fell apart during the pandemic, and they're very labor intensive.
Yes.
And it's hard to do on a volunteer basis for any organization.
So you're the only one in the Delaware Valley.
Yeah. Yes.
That's a big geography.
It's a big geography. So we're reaching out to a lot of schools to have them nominate students. And now this is our 11th class, so our 12th year in business here. And now we're getting word of mouth. We're getting a lot of siblings of kids from a couple years ago. This year in our class, we actually have a set of brothers and a set of sisters, which we never had before. And I was like, wow, how's this going to work? Yeah. Now, the sisters work together on a business, but the brothers each have different businesses altogether. So,
how did you get involved?
I was on the board of an organization, a nonprofit board of the National Association of Women Business Owners in Philadelphia, and they were asked if they would want to start one of the chapters in Philadelphia. And since I was on the board, they said, Ellen, what do you think? And I said, this sounds like a great give back career. And I wish that I had this in high school.
Yeah.
And I find that most of our financial supporters feel the same. The best supporter for us is not the big foundations or the big banks. It's really somebody that started their business when they were in high school or in college.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a class. Is this a class from, is it one full year? Is it 2 semesters?
It's a school year. So we run the program for 29 weeks from November till the end of May. And students apply to get into the program. It's not assumed that you're going to be in it. There's a selection committee, and they send us their resumes and transcripts, and not resumes, really recommendations. Every once in a while I get a resume from a 6th grader, which is pretty interesting. But they send, and bow ties at the interviews, clip-on bow ties, mind you. But they will get letters of recommendations, and we will look at that and interview them and see whether we think they can withstand the rigors of the program. What are the criteria? In the beginning, you would think, oh, are they good students? Well, I don't really use the grades anymore. I just ask for them because I want to see what kind of classes they're taking. But the reason I don't use the grades is I started to find a trend over the years that some of our best students were the ones who got the worst grades.
Absolutely.
And I was like, well, how could that be? And how it could be is, as one of our big supporters, Rick Foreman from Foreman Mills, who ran Foreman Mills, he said, he looks at the kids every once in a while and says, do you feel different than the other students in your class? That's how I felt.
Yeah.
He didn't, the school education grade thing wasn't important to him. Mm-hmm. He was out selling T-shirts, under the L and making money. So I stopped with the grades and sort of listened to their passions of what they wanted to do.
Have you been wrong?
Sometimes I would say that we're wrong because some of the students just have so many activities that it's really hard. This is not, as I am quick to tell anybody, is if you're doing this to fill your resume for college, it's probably not the right program for you because there's other things you can do to be very impressive to a college. This is a lot of work. You're doing a business plan. You have to do the research. So if you don't have the time for it,
it's the beginning of a life journey.
Yeah,
it can be for some kids.
It is, and we've had some amazing stories from some of our past students. In fact, when my husband and I went out to California this summer, and we visited with 2 of our students, one from our first class and one from the second. My husband's very gracious in agreeing to do this, but we're out in California. These young people want to meet up, and see what's going on. The first one is an investment banker, and with Morgan Stanley, and is telling me that she has to be on the phone with Elon Musk. That Elon Musk insists that she's on the phone because she's the only one who understands him at that whole place.
Wow.
And so now everybody has their own opinion today, but at the time, that's pretty darn impressive. Yeah. And the second one, we meet a couple hours later, and he tells us that he just secured $2.5 million for a new seed startup for him, a tech company related to his mother's dental practice. Came home and he used the skills that he learned. He said he took the business plan and he went right through it and started filling it out.
You mentioned curriculum. You have a curriculum for the program. Does your curriculum tie in with the curriculum of the schools that the kids come from? Is there any connection?
There's no connection, unfortunately. There's very little entrepreneurial training in the schools. You may have a business class. Training. Yeah, very little business training. There are some, and there may be an entrepreneurship class, and there may be, some of the other programs that you might have heard about, but they're very different. They're expected to actually create a real business or nonprofit by the end of the class. That it's not theoretical.
At all levels, regardless of their ages. If a middle school child coming in for the first time, You have the same expectations as you do a high school senior?
Yes.
Really?
We do, believe it or not. And one of our most successful students was a 6th grader in our class who, Little Bags by Anna, she took reclaimed fabrics and made little sachets. And she has, I think, 7 employees now and is in college at Boston University.
Wow. How about
so, you know, we come with different different skill sets, and definitely the maturity is a little different. But and I remember even in the beginning when I was hearing about the design of the class, like how can you put a 6th grader and a 12th grader together once a week? Like they sit together. Yeah, it's one class.
It's homogenous. They're all in there together.
And what's really interesting, and I was like, I just can't see that. And
no.
It's amazing. When it comes to business, it doesn't make any difference. We don't have many 6th graders ever. You know, they're usually a little older because it's a fair amount of work. But this year we have a 6th grader, and everybody in the class loves this young man. And he comes with such energy about things. And also the other older students, some of them want to sell to his age group. And so he's a ready focus group there of how he approaches it. So yes, they
How large is the class? What's the optimal number?
For me, I like to have small classes because I like to make sure that there's a lot of nurturing and mentorship. 16 is what we have right now. I sort of like 14 often.
And generally, what's the best mix in terms of age? Your high school seniors are already looking ahead.
Usually we have 1 or 2 high school seniors. We may have 1 or 2 juniors. This year we have 3. And then we have a lot of 9th and 10th graders. And 8th graders. They're sort of the big.
You were telling me before we came on that you pulled from as far away as Downingtown?
Downingtown and Bethlehem.
And Bethlehem on Wednesday nights from 5 to 8 on the campus now of Eastern College.
Yep,
Eastern University, rather. Yeah. That's really, it's amazing.
It's amazing that
the parents must be as motivated as the children.
And they are. And but I think the parents recognize that their children have this need to try and explore this, and they're willing to make this happen. Last year, we had a student that came from really quite a distance, 2 years ago, quite a distance, up sort of north central New Jersey. And I was,
wow,
how are they going to get here every week? And the mother looked at me and said, if my son gets accepted, we'll take care of that because we see this in him and he can't get this. He's not getting this at school. So we need to nurture this part. And he came every week.
How many of your graduates go on to college?
All of them.
Really?
Yeah, almost every one of them.
I guess that surprises me because I would have thought that some percentage of them would say, I don't need college. I've got my own ideas. I'm on my way. Not so?
They're still doing them in college. They're still doing them. A couple of them went to entrepreneurial programs, so they were continuing to work their business plan too. And this other young woman who was in our first class reached back to me recently, and she was a 6th grader. And she said that she's an investment banker, and she wanted to give back to other students that might be interested in finance currently. And she has since mentored them. But she said, don't you worry, I'm just making the money now so I can start my business. Like that has not left me.
Yeah.
So
give me an idea of the regimen that they would go through. So what's the class like?
So the class is really, over the span of a year, is divided in 3. The first 10 weeks they're coming up with their big idea. And a percentage of the students come with an idea. Some of them come with an idea, change it, and some have no idea. And we help them think of their passions and the things they like to do and what they might be good at to come up with an idea.
So do you walk them through the creative process?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and then, and they change a lot in the first 10 weeks.
Right.
And because they have to also prove that it's not just a good idea, but it's a business opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes a little bit of a challenge because we have a lot of good ideas, but they may not be an opportunity to make any money. And we make them do that if they want to do a nonprofit as well. So that's, that nonprofits are just a way of filing your taxes.
Right.
You still have to make money to survive. And then the second 10 weeks, we bring in mentors, business people from the community that sit with them and help them put together their business plan and their presentation. So they're helping them with their pricing, their cost of goods sold, economics, their marketing plans, how to maybe find something, a material that might be a little less expensive, or think through their product's development. And at the end of that 10 weeks, they actually pitch to a panel of investors. And our investor panel will be in April. And they pitch to business people and nonprofit owners primarily, that donate money to help them get started with some initial startup funds. And then the last segment of the class, they got some money, now what do they do?
Right.
Well, they have to buy the materials, get things ready, and then we have a trade show that they
actually
display.
Produce a prototype?
Yes.
What about a service? It's not all products, right?
Correct. This year, I think they're all products, believe it or not.
Huh.
Yeah, but usually they're services too.
Do they tend to be consumer products rather than?
Yes, I would say.
Healthcare or
technology?
They're more
consumer. A little technology too. We have some apps that are being developed. And the other thing that's fun to watch is how, we have about 75 volunteers that work with these students throughout the year.
That's
so
great.
It's the mentors and then all of the speakers and what's fun is how so many of the adults are learning from the children.
Yes.
I mean, every single year I learn a new part of technology I'd never heard of before, and I'm, they're talking about it as if everybody knows it, and I'm clicking on my phone to make sure I know what that is. So it's amazing to see how fast and furious they're learning.
The fact that you're able to attract that many volunteers, that's astonishing.
I think they get hooked. They come back year after year too.
Yeah.
And they'll tell other people. It's almost like this little group that keeps, oh, did you know about this? This is really fun.
How is your chapter funded?
We're always asking for money and for donations.
But is there a fee?
The students pay 10% of the cost of what it really costs to have it. So there is, the tuition is $8.95 for the year. And if they need a scholarship, they apply for a scholarship. No one is turned away. We have a needs-blind application process. So if they're accepted, we find the money for them. Where? I ask business people. I just pick up the phone and ask.
You're a beggar.
Shameless. Shameless beggar. Right. Especially if we have a lot of students that need scholarships. I'm just like, I know this is really important. And they do, because they see, the thing that's beautiful about donating to a program like ours or other programs like this is that you get to see the people you're giving the money to.
Yeah.
You can come to an event and you'll see that child standing up there on the stage, petrified to talk to.
Do you get other institutional money?
We get some foundation grant, and some banks will give us, a little bit of money, but our major donors are entrepreneurs that wish they had this program when they were younger. They have been our major funders of this. And sometimes, I have to say, it's just showing up. You show up somewhere and I share my passion for what I do. And a lot of people think it's fun to think that kids are learning about this.
Yes.
And taking it far. I mean, this is not, I've had some of the mentors who have been taking certificate programs at Wharton and all over the place for their MBAs. They're successful entrepreneurs themselves. And they said our business plan is more extensive than even what they're getting there. I mean, they are not, they're expected to do a real business plan.
That's amazing.
And show how much money it's going to take to start and what they're going to do with it.
Do you expect parents to not only get them there, but also to support them, work with them, help them?
We don't really, it's not the parents' business, it's the child's business.
Yes.
So we are, yes, we want them to support that. And they get copied on the email so that they're aware of what we're doing in class each week. But it's not the parents' business.
You have a short video you brought. Let's take a look at that to see what the students, what they think of the program.
Great, thank you.
I learned how to start a business, and not only start a business, but maintain a business.
I think some important things that we learned were how to analyze your target market and how to market towards those people.
I learned more skills about just the nitty-gritty parts of a business that you wouldn't find or you wouldn't learn just in school.
After actually approaching how to start a business the proper way, I learned a lot, and had I not had an open mind, I think I wouldn't have been as successful with my business.
One thing I really value that I learned is insurance and then taxes. That's kind of something I didn't really know. I mean, I had a business before I came to Yale, but those are some of the things I didn't really know, and I learned them here, and it was fantastic.
I learned that I can grow and be more confident and speak more publicly.
I learned that I love to talk in public and on the stage, and I guess I love to present.
I learned that I could be self-motivated and plan out a good path for myself.
This program actually really allowed me to work on my networking abilities and marketing.
I enjoyed making new friends and meeting new people.
I definitely enjoyed working with other students who were like my age.
For me, being around like-minded people, I mean, when I go to school, everybody has a different agenda. Everybody wants to be different when they grow up. But when you came here, everybody wanted to run a business. Everybody wanted to have a successful business. So it's really good to be around like-minded people, and I really enjoyed that.
Having a mentor to work on one-on-one allowed me to gain a lot of new skills and insights from someone who has started their own business.
My mentor helped me so much. I don't think I could have gotten this far without her. She's an amazing person, and she helped me get so many connections in the business.
I learned a lot from her, and she learned a lot from me, and I still am friends with her to this day.
I would definitely recommend it to anyone who has even a little bit of interest in business.
I would recommend Yay to any kid who is ambitious and passionate about something and really wants to start making a change.
That's great. Great stuff. Great stuff. And you showed me a letter that you received from a recent grad who commented about your hats.
Right.
That's your signature, right? Yeah. But I was really impressed with the letter because of its sincerity, because the person attributed so much of what they've been able to accomplish so far to you and to the program, but mostly to you. So don't be too modest.
Well, it takes a lot of people to support the success of these children.
For 17 years, I ran a venue called the Entrepreneurs Network. And it was just that. It was a safe place, an environment where early stage companies could come in and talk with other people who could be of help to them, either monetarily or support them in other ways. And it was a wonderful experience. Some of the ventures that went through, and we had over 350 ventures that presented over that period of time. Some went on to be very, very successful. But to your earlier point, what stories I heard, I can still hear this person. I wish I had known, I wish I'd been able to talk to somebody. I wasted so much time and so much money. An early stage entrepreneur, as you probably know, has a product that they want to rush to an attorney to get a patent. No, stop. And they waste $15,000 of their own money, taken out of their retirement account, and they just blow the money. Or I need a marketing, I need an advertising. No, you don't. Stop. Do you go through that as well, trying to keep the kids back before they get ahead of themselves?
I got a note in the last week from parents saying that they were researching that a patent would be $25,000. I'm like,
yeah.
What's the expectation? Should we be doing that? And I'm like, no.
No.
Let's see that first off, they have to get to 9th grade. Right? So, and there's other, I sent them, one of our mentors is somebody that worked in the patent office and said, this is, sort of what we're doing now. And you can go for provisional patents and all of these things up front. Let's see how this is going to fly,
right.
How much work you're going to do. But yeah, we get that a lot too, that they, in fact, we're often shutting that down for our students because everybody, well, not everybody, but I would say most of the people that have been associated with the program have all bootstrapped this whole thing for themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't go out and pay somebody to register their LLC. They do their LLC by themselves.
Sure.
They do that stuff on their own. So
I think the hardest thing for an early stage entrepreneur who has a brilliant idea, better than anything else, is to pivot. You mentioned it earlier, to give up that idea and try to come up with something better.
I think that's very true. And I noticed from our students, I got another email from somebody from 4 years ago just today, and they said, I'm really frustrated in my entrepreneurial journey right now. Do you remember this woman that spoke to us? Can you get me her contact information? I just feel like she will know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And it sometimes it's hard, but it's hard for adults to pivot too. Often we follow rabbit holes all kinds of times.
You become so attached to your brilliant idea, you just don't want to give it up. Tell me more about the investor panel in April.
So the investor panel is a really fun event where each of the students gets up and actually pitches a panel of 10 business people that donate money, pitches them for startup funds. And everybody tends to get something, but there's a wide variety. And if there's extra money, they decide who gets the big, the extra cash. If, they pitch a really good idea.
So each of the panelists puts up money?
Yes, everybody does. And then they listen to all the pitches.
How long is a pitch?
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
With or without prompts and visuals and slides?
They have slides behind them.
They do.
They have their cost of goods sold and the economics of one, their PowerPoint of bullet points. Right. And they speak. They have speech cards that they're reading so that we can follow along in the PowerPoint. And then they answer the investors get to ask them questions. Now, we have, other than the things we think they should be asked, we have no idea what the investors are going to ask. They are not peppered with anything. And some years, they're incredibly easy in the questions. And some years, somebody wants to lean over and say, you realize this person is in 8th grade.
Yeah.
It's like, but they really are well prepared and they have a great time. They just can't believe it. They just can't believe that they can get money for their ideas.
You've been at it now for about 10 years. You've had a number of graduates. How many of them have gone on to be success with their product or service that came out of your program? So
we have, I think we've graduated around 120 businesses. And I would say, we don't always hear from everyone. Yeah. And sometimes we hear that they went on to college and then they realized that they could make more money in the business they created than whatever they studied in college or whatever summer job they were going to get offered. So they would go back to it and make money. But we have a bunch of students that are still pursuing the same business. Some of them are doing other ones. Yeah. And, we're okay with that. The hardest part, as you know, is raising money, is going out and begging for money. That's
always the toughest part.
Well, one of the things that's good for us is the fact that they have awareness of Shark Tank. So they already know that they're giving up something.
Yeah.
So that at least helps. Now, the people that give money from our program are not giving. It's a donation. I like to call it affectionately the 4-H of business. the 4-H club where people would give money to kids for their bunnies that they raised or whatever. And if you ever went to one of those auctions and somebody spends $800 on a bunny, chances are you don't need an $800 bunny, but you do want to support the efforts of what it took to get that.
Ellen, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
An absolute pleasure. I wish you
so much fun. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My guest today has been Ellen Fisher, who is the executive director of the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, based on the campus of Eastern University. If people would like information about your program, well, how can they get that?
On our website is yeaphiladelphia.org.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Rick Anthony. This is 30 Minutes. Until next time, take very good care of yourselves.